Hello, and welcome back to the channel. This is TPP. Welcome in, welcome all, new people and old people. We appreciate all the people that show up for the shows that I have at 10 o'clock at night, and I appreciate you coming over. Now, you guys see the moniker. Everybody says Karmelo Anthony's parents failed him. I heard that several times. Many times on the internet, that his parents failed him. That's a lazy indictment that you have of this man and his family. I sat back and listened to the commentary since the gavel fell on Collin County. I listened to the victim's father look across the courtroom during the sentencing phase and tell this 19-year-old boy that you failed yourself, you failed your parents, you failed society. I understand a grieving father's absolute rage. I get all of that. I get it. He has every right to his anger. But what I won't do is sit here silently while the internet takes the phrase to perform a lazy, systematic indictment of this black family. The public narrative rolled out the exact same tired script it always rolls out. Where were his parents? He was raised by the streets. The home must have been a chaotic vacuum. That's not what we understand.
They're one of the most disturbing aspects of the White House cover-up in the Epstein files. Trigger warning. The White House
hold on.
sex with Donald Trump. It would cause people to say we're going further than we need to.
Oops, I got the wrong video. Sorry about that, guys. Wrong video. Ooh, and it is the wrong video. Ooh, I got to remove that. Sorry. People look at that catastrophic outcome with the young man and immediately work backward to fabricate a convenient original story. But as a 60-year-old person who has raised children and watched a generation grow up, I know that life does not operate on a straight timeline. What I want to do tonight is something much simpler, right? I want to look at the facts that existed before April 2nd. Because if people are going to accuse these parents of failure, then that accusation should be supported by something more than assumptions and internet gossip, right? We could start with the documentation that cannot be altered by public prejudice, right? The school transcripts. Karmelo Anthony didn't arrive at Centennial High School in Frisco, Texas as a truant dropout or an institutional problem. Weeks before the continuation of the stadium fight, he was a high school senior maintaining a 3.7 grade point average. Let's be entirely real about what a 3.7 grade point average, competitive, well-funded Texas public school district means. He didn't get lucky with those grades. That boy had structure in his home, and that's evidence of that. A 3.7 GPA does not automatically prove great parenting. No, it doesn't. Plenty of factors contribute to academic success. What it does suggest, however, is that the picture being painted by a lot of y'all on the internet, by many people, may not be nearly as simple as they claim. When a teenager is succeeding academically, participating in school activities, and staying on track towards graduation, that deserves to be part of the conversation too. That requires a rigid daily structure. It requires an environment where a desk is provided, where quiet hours are enforced, where internet access is monitored for homework, and where education is actively evangelized at the dinner table. You don't get honor roll grades like that while playing 2 sports in the house if the house is chaotic. That's a home with rules and things that he has to follow. His mother, Kayla, and his father, Andrew, didn't just hope he did well. They let their children know that education was valued and achievement was encouraged. The school district itself confirmed that even while under strict house arrest, awaiting his trial, Karmelo met every single benchmark required to receive his high school diploma. A failed home does not produce an honor roll graduate weeks away from walking across the stage. A failed home doesn't produce a senior on track to graduate with a 3.7. A solid home does that, period. But the evidence doesn't stop at the classroom door. Let's look at the institutional trust placed in this young man by adult educators and his teenage peers. Show you this clip. I'm scared. I'm scared to show these clips because I don't know what the hell happened. I can't show no clips. But Carmelo Anthony was not a shadow moving through the hallways, causing disturbance. He was the captain of the varsity football team and the captain of the track team. Coaches don't hand the captain's jerseys to the kid from a chaotic household. They give it to the one they trust, the one that has shown stability. Texas high school football is not a casual after-school club. It's a multi-million-dollar culture built on discipline, accountability, and hierarchy. High school coaches do not hand the captain's jersey or the leadership whistle to a kid who shows up late, talks back to authority, carries himself erratically or hostile-wise, or comes from a chaotic household. To be named a dual sport captain means you are the standard bearer for your peers. Your peers don't vote you captain if you're wild and disrespectful or raised without boundaries. Leadership is earned, not given. It means you are trusted to de-escalate tension, lead warm-ups, hold others accountable, and represent the school name publicly. Leadership roles like these rarely happen by accident. Coaches and school administrators typically place those responsibilities on students that they trust. While no one outside the family knows every lesson that was taught at home, it is difficult to look at these accomplishments that he did and immediately conclude that no positive guidance existed. This is what you keep hearing on the internet. If we're going to use his athletic participation to frame the location of the tragedy, we're damn sure better use his leadership to show the character his parents built. Okay. Let's dismantle that demographic assumption. The internet loves to imply that whenever a young black man is involved in a violent incident, he must come from a fractured single-parent household with no male guidance. The publicly known facts point in a different direction. Karmelo was raised in a stable two-parent household alongside with his three siblings. He is the oldest of four children. His parents made the deliberate strategic choice to relocate their entire family from Baton Rouge, Louisiana to Frisco, Texas. Why? Because like millions of striving black families, they wanted to pull their children away from high crime neighborhoods and place them in a top-tier public school infrastructure where they could thrive, where Karmelo could thrive. In a large faith-centered household, the oldest child carries a distinct set of responsibilities. They are the auxiliary protector. They watch the younger siblings, they model behavioral boundaries, and they understand that their actions carry immediate consequences for the family unit. This family was fully visible, fully invested, and fully present. They did not abandon their post. They did exactly what the conservative American playbook tells every family to do. Move to the suburbs, put God first, work hard, and protect your family and your home. So when criminologists talk about juvenile offenders who commit serious acts of violence, they look for the escalating staircase of behavioral intervention. They look for the middle school suspensions, the disciplinary alternative education placements, the petty theft arrests, a history of vandalism or documented gang documentation? Where's that staircase to all of those bad behaviors in the Karmelo Anthony trial record? You don't see that in his record because he wasn't a bad kid. It does not exist. Prior to the chaotic seconds under that tent during a sudden weather delay, Karmelo Anthony had zero criminal record. He had never been processed through the juvenile system ever. He has never been arrested. He had no history of assaultive behavior brought forward by the Collin County District Attorney's Office to prove a pattern of prior aggression. He didn't have any of that. If a child has lived for 17 years without a single blemish on their civic record, you cannot claim the parents failed to teach them the law. They successfully navigated him through childhood and through the law, through adolescence, without a single legal infraction. The state of Texas could not produce a history of delinquency about Karmelo because his parents had spent nearly 2 decades actively preventing him going astray. Here's the terrifying clinical reality that every parent listening to my voice needs to understand. Parenting is an exercise in influence, not absolute control. There's no amount of good parenting, no amount of family prayer, no amount of high school sports captain jerseys, no amount of honor roll certificates that can completely bulletproof a human being's free will. At 17, 18, 19 years old, a child is an independent agent operating in a volatile world. When a sudden downpour hits a track meet, when chaotic crowds pack into a confined space, when teenage rivalries flare up in seconds, adrenaline replaces logic. A kid makes a catastrophic, impulsive, split-second decision to bring a pocket knife into a space, and within a window of less than 2 minutes, a life is lost. That may represent a catastrophic failure of judgment in a matter of seconds. Whether it also represents 18 years of parental failure is a very fucking different question. At this point, I can already hear the response. People say, none of this matters. He killed somebody. That alone proves the parents failed. I don't think that's the serious standard. That makes no fucking sense. Karmelo Anthony killed Austin Metcalf. It's proof that Karmelo Anthony made a catastrophic, deadly decision. It's proof that a jury found him guilty of murder. It is proof that he was sentenced to 35 years in prison. What it does not automatically prove is that his parents failed. Because if we accept that standard, then every parent whose child commits a serious crime automatically becomes a failed parent, regardless of everything that has happened during the previous 18 years. That is not how life is evaluated. The question is not whether a tragedy occurred. The tragedy is undeniable. The question is whether there was evidence leading up to that tragedy that would support the conclusion that his parents failed. Was there a long pattern of criminal behavior? No. Was there a history of repeated arrests? No. Was there escalating violence in his history? No. Were there school expulsions? No. Was there a documented record of warning signs that everybody ignored? No. Those are the kinds of facts people normally point to when they argue that parents have failed a child. But that is not what we see here. Instead, we see a young man who maintained a 3.7. We see a student athlete. We see a captain of multiple sports teams. We see someone with no prior criminal history. We see a teenager who was living in a structured 2-parent home with expectations placed upon him. None of those facts erase what happened. None of those facts change the verdict. None of those facts bring Austin Metcalf back. But they do matter when we're talking about parental failure, because you cannot take a single catastrophic decision and automatically use it to rewrite an entire childhood. That is hindsight. That is not evidence. The uncomfortable reality is that parents can teach values, enforce discipline, encourage education, remain actively involved in their children's lives, and still watch those children make life-altering decisions. Why don't y'all go ask that dude that killed Charlie Kirk? Why don't you ask his mama and daddy? Did we fail as a parent? I want to know, did y'all go over it? Did all y'all go over there and start blaming the mama and daddy for the dude that killed Charlie Kirk? Did y'all go over there and tell them that they were failures as parents? I want to know. What was that the same thing y'all said to his parents, the dude that killed Charlie Kirk? If you didn't, shut your ass up. Okay. Every parent knows. Every parent fears that. The knife was in Karmelo's hand. The decision was Karmelo Anthony's decision. The conviction belongs to Karmelo Anthony. The sentence belongs to Karmelo Anthony. The question before us is whether the evidence also proves that his parents failed him. And those are not the same thing. To blame the parents for a split-second decision made by an independent young man is to demand that parents possess the supernatural ability to control time, space, and body biology. We need to talk about the blatant hypocrisy of the standards that people apply. When a child from an affluent white family, Charlie Kirk's family, Charlie Kirk, the dude that killed Charlie Kirk, the dude that killed Charlie Kirk, when a child comes from an affluent white family or a praised suburban home commits a reckless crime, whether it's a school shooting, killing Charlie Kirk, or a drunk driving fatality, or a brutal assault, the media and the public immediately look for some kind of psychological nuance. Some kind of nuance, some kind of something. They call it an isolated mental health crisis. They talk about affluenza. They call it a tragic anomaly that nobody could have seen coming. We didn't see any of that. All I hear online is, oh, Karmelo came from a blah, blah, blah. Karmelo came from this. Karmelo was a thug. Karmelo was a blah, blah, blah. Ain't no evidence of none of that. No evidence of that at all. Okay. Whenever they call it a mental health crisis, they say it's a tragic anomaly. That's what they call it. Tragic anomaly that nobody could have seen coming. They isolate the child's actions from the family's character. But when a black teenager is involved, the standard instantly shifts to collective punishment. The entire bloodline is put on trial. Darn near the whole black race is put on trial. We saw it happen over there on TikTok, Facebook, all those places. Every time you turned around, you had white folks attacking all black people. All y'all do is crime. All y'all do is kill, murder, and stab. All y'all do. What do you mean all us? What do you mean all us? That's one boy that did some shit like that. It ain't all of us. The parents were immediately stripped of their dignity and accused of systematic neglect. And that brings me to something else I noticed throughout this case. The public's curiosity seemed to flow in only one direction. People wanted to know everything about Karmelo Anthony's family. They wanted to know how he was raised. They wanted to know where his parents were. They wanted to know whether his mother failed him, whether his father failed him, whether there was warning signs at home, whether this outcome was somehow inevitable. But very few people seem interested in applying that same level of scrutiny across the board to Austin Metcalf. That's what makes this conversation so crazy, because if family background matters, then it matters. If home life matters, then it matters. If discipline, family dynamics, behavioral history, parental influence matters, then those things should matter consistently. But if you put Karmelo and Austin side by side and people were judging family and character like that, Austin would be the supposed degenerate. Austin would be the low class one. Austin would be the good for nothing you all want to call Karmelo. Austin would be lacking in all the things you say Karmelo is lacking. Austin came from a broken home. Austin was accused of being a bully. They didn't call Austin an A student. I ain't heard nobody say that yet. Karmelo was a sports captain and supposedly saved somebody's life before now. So we didn't hear nothing about Austin Metcalf. Everything you all accused Karmelo Anthony of was Austin Metcalf. People began with the conclusion that he was just some black murderer, therefore he was labeled a bad guy. The conclusion was that Karmelo Anthony must have come from a failed home, which was far from the truth. The conclusion was that his parents must have done something wrong. The conclusion was that the outcome itself proved the failure. What I've been asking throughout this entire discussion is much simpler than that, okay? What evidence actively supports the conclusion that his parents failed? Because once we move beyond assumptions and start looking at publicly known facts, the story becomes much more complicated than the internet initially wanted us to admit. Let's look at the double standard. If Karmelo Anthony had run across that finish line, won the state championship, and earned a full ride scholarship to an elite university, the public would have said he did it all on his own merit. They would have praised his individual talent and ignored his parents. But the moment a tragedy occurs, his individuality vanishes, and his parents are forced to carry the moral weight of his conviction. You cannot have it both ways. If he gets the individual credit for his successes, he must carry the individual accountability for his catastrophic errors. If you want to talk about failure, let's look at the sheer weight of what the family endured to stand by their son. Kayla and Andrew didn't run away when the crisis hit. They didn't make excuses. They put their home. They put up their home. They complied with every house arrest restriction. They showed up to court every single day in McKinney, Texas. And that's another thing I heard people say. They weren't there when he was convicted, or they read the witness statement. During the punishment phase, when the defense scrambled to present a case for mitigation, his mother, Kayla, was the only witness to take the stand. She sat before a Collin County jury that had just rejected a self-defense claim, and under 3 hours looked him in the eye and pleaded to have mercy on her son. And what did this family get from the public for their dignity? They were doxxed online. Their addresses were published, forcing them to flee their home to an undisclosed location because their 13-year-old daughter was too terrified to go to sleep in her own bedroom. Both fathers in this tragedy, both Austin's father and Karmelo's father, were forced to leave their jobs due to unrelenting harassment. Okay. Karmelo's family got a GoFundMe. I guess it's called a GoFundMe. I haven't really seen. Karmelo's family got a GoFundMe. Austin's family got a GoFundMe. But we never hear anything about them having 3 GoFundMes. Austin's family has 3 GoFundMes. Karmelo only had 1. And then y'all rode the donkey till the donkey fell down to find out what the family did with that money. Austin had a private attorney. His private attorney got paid. Austin doesn't need a lawyer for the appellate, but he doesn't need a private lawyer for that unless they're looking specifically for whatever he needs to be looking for to appeal the case. If he has another GoFundMe, go contribute to the GoFundMe to help with the appellate appealing process. Okay. The internet ran a vicious disinformation campaign against that boy, claiming the family used their GoFundMe legal defense fund to buy a luxury home and a Cadillac. Yet the second the trial ended, official court records revealed Karmelo Anthony filed a notice of indigency, legally broke, requiring a court-appointed public defender to handle his appeal. Just days ago, Andrew and Kayla broke their silence in an interview on The Breakfast Club, stating plainly, "We're in a nightmare. We did everything we were advised to do, and look what happened." They didn't fail their son. They gave him a 3.7 GPA, leadership roles, structure, and love, and a solid home. They protected him from the streets of Baton Rouge, only to lose him to a 2-minute window of chaos in Frisco. Stop using a tragic outcome to indict a solid Black home and start dealing with the terrifying reality of individual choices that these kids make. Okay. His choices had nothing to do with his parents. They did all the things they were supposed to do. They did all of the things right. Everything was correct, all the way down to the line. Not perfect, but correct. Because you can never raise a correct or perfect household. You can only hope that the lessons that you dole out are listened to. And he apparently listened to those lessons. Okay? So it's not his mother or his father. And all I'm saying is, y'all stop listening to gossip on the internet. His parents were solid. They were solid before all of this happened. He was on his way to maybe a bright future. Who knows? One catastrophic decision. He made one catastrophic decision. So did Austin. Austin made another calculation or catastrophic decision. He decided that he was going to go over and try to push somebody out of the tent. That was his downfall. That was his catastrophic mistake. Instead of just leaving it alone, letting a coach handle it, he made that one error and lost his life. Just like Karmelo Anthony did the same thing and lost his life. Had nothing to do with the parents. People saying Austin shouldn't have been over there. That's his daddy and his mama raised him to do that. You can't say that. Austin was old enough to understand what he was doing. So it wasn't his parent. It has nothing to do with the mom and dad. It has nothing to do with them. It has to do with them, those two boys who made those two fatal decisions. Just like Carmelo Anthony's decision had nothing to do with Kayla and Anthony. It was all on him. Okay. So no, the parents didn't fail. They got him from going to jail when he reached 18. All the decisions that boy made, all the decisions that Austin made, all of the decisions all these people made, these are their adult decisions. Okay. So I just wanted to, come out there because I was on the internet and I kept hearing people say, oh, the parents failed. No, that's not how that works. Like I said, go talk to the dude who killed Charlie Kirk. Because if Carmelo Anthony parents are shitty parents, then so are those people in Utah, those Mormons or whoever his parents were. Then those are shitty parents too. Because your kid did the same thing. Okay. On a bigger scale. That would mean your whole family and whole lineage, that person who killed Charlie, his whole family, his whole lineage are shitty parents, shitty family, shitty mom and dad. And nobody worth their salt would say that. Nobody worth their salt would say that. So we can't say the same thing with Kayla and her husband. Okay. But if you like my content, if you like my nightly rants, please hit the like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate you guys. Let me look in the chat. What did we have in the chat? Okay. Sound like you. I can't. Sometimes I just can't with some of y'all because you're too immature to even talk to. Okay. Too immature to talk to. That's just wild. I can't address the chat. It's just too immature. Can't do it. So if you like my content, like the subjects, please hit the like, share, and subscribe. And I appreciate all that came out. Please do whatever you got to do in order to get past this, because it's just going on and on and on and makes no sense. And I appreciate all of y'all. I appreciate y'all. And I will see you in the next video. I will be dropping TikToks and all that other weird shit this weekend. And maybe a video sometime this weekend. I don't know. But I appreciate all you showing up for my content tonight. I appreciate all of you guys. I do. I do. So I will see you in the next one. Thank you.